Hi, folks. I'm Paul Tobia. I'm one of the product managers here at Sumo Logic working with the security business unit. And I just want to take a couple moments today to introduce folks to our official Cloud SIEM Enterprise application that we've got. What this is it is a base application available in the app catalog for all Cloud SIEM Enterprise customers that allows them to use the entirety of the Sumo Logic analytics platform against the objects that are generated by Cloud SIEM Enterprise itself. So it's going to have a series of dashboards and queries that you can use that really kind of allows you to look at some performance metrics and some trending across time, some additional troubleshooting capabilities as well. So to help manage ingestion and help manage and make sure that the data that's going into Cloud SIEM Enterprise is providing the value that you're really looking for. If you're unfamiliar with Cloud SIEM Enterprise, I've got here just a very basic, almost oversimplified view of the data pipeline that comes in. When we start with the messages that comes into the Sumo Logic core platform, and then through that we do parsing, mapping, and enrichment to create those normalized records. From those records, then we run it through our rules engine. We determine what entities or what are the important parts of those messages, and turn those into signals, which are security events and security detections within the environment. Then the last piece that we do is we take those entities and combine signals together over time, do some correlation and clustering to kind of tell a story of what's going on with the system, and those are our insights. So you can see this part that I have highlighted in red. These are the specific objects that we're taking out of Cloud SIEM Enterprise and putting into the core Sumo Logic system. And this is the core, along with the audit capabilities, actions that you're doing within Cloud SIEM Enterprise and actions that we're doing providing you content. The combination of those four things is really what the application is pulling data from and showing you. So let's switch over and I'll run through a quick demo. So this is up and running in our demo environment, the CSE app. Draw your attention over here to the left, where you've got those three parts that I mentioned before, the insights at the top level that are made up of individual signals, and the signals are derived from rules that are running through the records. So each of these sections are here. I'll run through a couple examples of each of these, but if you notice as we expand these out, we provide quite a few dashboards in each case. But let's just start with the insights side. So from an overview perspective, we're looking at the number of insights that Cloud SIEM Enterprise is generating and the number of insights that your team is closing, whether it's live in the system or downstream systems that are reporting back via API or webhook that those particular insights are closed. So this is kind of an overview process of understanding how much is Cloud SIEM Enterprise having a communication with you, and how much you're responding back to it. And we provide the view over time, a little bit of outlier detection to see if there's spikes in insights that are being generated on a regular basis. But some of these analytics that we have here help you understand at a top level what are commonalities to the insights that are being generated within your environment from a troubleshooting kind of standpoint. And then as you always travel down within each of the dashboards, you're going to get more and more levels of detail. So summarization up at the top, more details down towards the bottom. So down here you can see the insights created, just an individual breakdown here, and then the insights that are closed into those other dashboards. Again, this is an overview. If you want to drill into those additional details, that's where you come down in boards that we have available. So when we're looking at insights created, this gives you a summarization and kind of aggregation of what Cloud SIEM Enterprise is telling your environment. So total number of insights created over the time period that you've got, and of course that's modifiable just like any other Sumo dashboard that you have. So you can look back at the last 7 days versus the last 24 hours. The average time to detection gives you, this is one of the places where our synthetic demo environment doesn't line up quite as well, but that gives you an idea of first scene to last scene within these particular insights. The insight confidence gives you an idea of the scale of what that machine learning capabilities that we have, which looks at the entirety of insights generated across all instances of Sumo Logic and makes the statistical guesses on or statistical evaluations of which insights are more likely to result in a true positive versus a false positive. So you've got your average, median, max, and min of those insights. And you can see that we've got some very high confidence insights and some very low confidence insights. Then there's a series of summarizations that we've got. So there's breakdowns by who's closing or who's activating or who's working on those insights, which entities are showing up with those insights. Again, showing you this synthetic demo environment that gets repeated every day. Doesn't provide a lot of variance here in terms of what we're seeing, but in a live environment, right, seeing that a particular entity results in over half of your insights, that's interesting information. Breakdown by severity, breakdown by name. Again, continue providing you more and more detailed information about how those insights are created. The next part that I want to talk about is the insights that are being closed. So this is where you can start getting some operational metrics from your environment. So not just what is that, we pull forward what's that average time to detection, but also what's the average time to respond. So from when the insight is created until the insight is grabbed by somebody in your security operations team and that state is changed from new. And then so that's from created to in process. And then the time to remediate is from created to close. So you can get some high-level statistics on your security operations that you've got in your environment. And again, summarizations and aggregations around particular types across different aspects of it. So you can look for patterns and ideas and trends that are happening around those insights. So next up, I'll move on to signals. So the signals, again, are the things that are the security relevant events that we're generating through the rules in Cloud SIEM Enterprise. And you can see here, looking across the timeline that we have here with the overview, we're showing changes across time. So you can see if there's spikes or dips in the signals that are being generated in a total signal count with some additional summaries that you've got here. But the real interesting stuff is when you actually dig down into the sub dashboards that we have underneath signals, where you actually get into the analytics. So you can start looking at, especially if some of the common issues that customers have with our environment is they have noisy signals. So there's a particular signal that seems to flood the system and override what we're looking at. You can see right here, right, there's a particular vendor and product feeding into the system that's generating the vast majority of signals that are coming across. We're showing that, right, very easily to be able to filter down to and to potentially go back to the data source and tune behind it. And then we also break out some of our more common vendor types here to provide additional information. And then additionally, we show when you take a query within Sumo Logic Core, within the core platform, and send that across as a signal to Cloud SIEM Enterprise, we break it down right here as well. And then here's another example of additional analytics that we're providing around the signals. This is specifically focusing on the rules that generate the signals. So you can take a look at which rules are trending over time, which rules are causing or creating the most signals in the environment, and even drilling down into information within the rules. So like the match expression that's going on here, again, linking back to that singular data source that we've got, but even coming down further, and we're seeing that there's a significant number of signals being generated by Windows 4625 event ID logs that are coming through the system. So being able to drill into these specifics and this level of detail really helps your analytics team, your tier 2 teams, and your administrative teams to help tune the system. And then the next part that we've got is the bedrock, that underlying those records that are underlying the system, which are those normalized messages that have come into Cloud SIEM Enterprise. This dashboard specifically I wanted to show as part of the demo because it helps you understand not all messages are going to be parsed or mapped by the system. And this helps you drill in to figure out which of those messages failed to parse and which of those messages failed to map. So in some of these cases, like you can see down here with this particular, right, there are specific Windows event logs, right, that we're not going to generate mappers for because they're not necessarily relevant to any kind of security use cases that we have. And we're not going to keep up with the entirety of all hundreds and hundreds of event types and event IDs that Microsoft puts out. But being able to understand which ones we are, missing, which ones we are not going to be mapping on that can help you either filter before you send it on to Cloud SIEM Enterprise or understand the total of what logs are actually and what event IDs you're seeing within your environment specifically. So great troubleshooting tool here. And then finally, I'd like to show you one of the parts that we show when we take in the audit information that occurs. So we're actually showing that what are the changes to content, what are the changes to the rules and the mappers that are within Cloud SIEM Enterprise. So when we do a particular update in the environment, all right, you will see those new rules come into play. When you make tuning and changes yourself, right, those things will also show up in this environment. So whether you've got users that are making changes within the environment, or we're uploading or changing the rules and mappers as part of our regular system updates, you're going to be able to drill into the details of each of these as well. So again, another troubleshooting capability, another capability to monitor and manage not just the data that's flowing through the system, but the content that's there as well. Okay, great. So really appreciate your time and attention on this. And I was really happy to show you a little bit of the advancements that we're doing around analytics around Cloud SIEM Enterprise. So thank you again for attending and hope you have a great Illuminate.